Hello, welcome to Spectator Sporting. I'm Zach Rocha, along with my partner, Mr. Adi Wally, and we got another crazy show for y'all. And if you saw this weekend, it was a boxing fight that wasn't a boxing fight. It was an absolute beatdown. And to talk about the beatdown, we brought my man T.I.M E back in the building. We brought the Byronist back in the building. Man, Errol Spence versus Crawford did not live up to the hype, but it was a great fight exhibition. There was some IQ, it was stuff that was going on. And even I knew Bud was good, but damn it, I didn't know he was that good. So, but one person here today predicted everything was going to happen and how it happened.
And the round that is going to happen is number 9.
Ooh.
Number 9. He will come into that round and he will be detached from consciousness. Crawford, knockout 9. Because like Adi alluded to, this cannot go to a decision. And it won't.
And now I'm just going to give him the floor. Byron, talk your best.
Welcome to the Byron Show. I first want to apologize to the Spence stands.
Get there.
Y'all had a week of calling me ignorant, a week of calling me delusional, a week of saying that I don't know boxing. But apparently, I know a little something. And let me tell you something. No one could have been prepared to see what we saw. We didn't see anything. And although I will take my credit to give me my jewels and give me my flowers for predicting a knockout at 9.
Oh,
but
gosh.
I could not have actually rationalized that this was going to be the one-sided absolute demolition that we saw. Bud King Crawford is the man at 147.
He called him King
and it's going to be the man at 154. But we're gonna keep it on subject.
Oh boy.
And I'm gonna address Spence. And I'm not gonna live in this rationale that one loss doesn't make you the champion that you are. I am a Spence fan, and you Spence stands are not gonna make me not be a fan of this young man. He is absolutely dynamic. But I'm gonna tell him that there were 2 instances that pretty much guaranteed him losing this fight. And the first is you didn't fight Keith Thurman. You didn't fight Keith Thurman. And fighting Keith Thurman would have had you fight a fighter that was on their toes, that wouldn't have set in front of you. It would have been very difficult for you to put your jab on him. This would have made you better. And I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back in time one more time. It's another fight that you missed that would have helped you for this fight, and that's Manny Pacquiao. And I understand that you had an eye injury, but when you came back from that eye injury, you chose you guys over going after a fighter with Manny Pacquiao. And yes, Manny Pacquiao was outside of his prime, and Manny Pacquiao beat Keith Thurman. And you would have fought a fighter with very fast hands. And you would have become acclimated with a fighter with a jerky style that wouldn't sit in front of you. And this is a call to all champions. You can't be champions and pick easy fights. Easy fights does not sharpen steel, and it makes you a speed bump for people like Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford has fought every champion in front of him. He did not duck people. He went after the harder fights. He went after the awkward champions, and he beat them. And the fact is, Errol Spence could have just bettered his positioning in this fight by fighting tougher competition. And there are 2 big main guys that would have helped you against Terence Crawford and not see that this absolutely getting blitzed in one of the biggest fights of your career. And I just want to tell you guys that I do feel that I'm always right. And this was big. This was very big. A knockout in one of the biggest fights of the decade. Salute to me, man. Salute to me.
Salute. So yeah, since we've been doing these boxing shows, I've never seen a prediction that good. Am I missing?
I mean, not just boxing shows. You just talk about mainstream media boxing shows.
I've never seen it.
He picked a ninth round knockout,
and it happened.
Yeah.
So that's incredible. You was on point. Let's get into this fight. So let's get into it. You want to get started?
Just one thing. Nothing. I'll save it.
So all right. So now let's dive into this fight. I know it was a one-sided fight. A lot of you go to a lot of people saying Spence didn't look right or Spence only had one style. So, Burn, I'm gonna go with you. Go ahead. Let's dive into what is your actual thoughts on this fight? What is the main thing you think that caused Spence to get his ass whooped like that?
I'm not gonna lie to you, Spence. I actually watched the fight with Ade, and we both said that he looked drained. There was the sunken eyes, and there was definitely a hard weight cut, and it was evident that there was a harder weight cut, but he didn't act the same for the entire fight week, in my opinion. I mean, compared to Porter,
that's a good point.
Way more vocal, way more confident.
Yeah.
And although this was a fight between two fighters who did have a lot of mutual respect for each other, Spence came off as not as confident that he was going to dominate Crawford, and just compared to his past fights. I'm not one big on excuses, and I will say that the way that Spence lost was very graceful. He definitely had the air of a champion. He definitely took responsibility. He gave Crawford his dues. But I really feel that Spence was just like we talked about in the show. He came in very one-dimensional on offense, and he was blitzed by somebody who was just absolutely ultra prepared for everything that he could do. Yeah. And he learned very early that Crawford wasn't going to be passive. Like we talked about Crawford with the slow starts. Yep. Crawford decided, you know what? If I can get shots off, I'm gonna get them off. I'm gonna go after you. I'm gonna hurt you, and I'm gonna finish you. And we already knew that Crawford's one of the best finishers in the game,
if not the best.
And he did what he was supposed to do.
Absolutely. Crawford, that was just a spectacular performance. So T.I.M, let's dive into this performance. I know you had predicted Spence was gonna win, but I did agree with a couple points, especially Spence always attacking, which worked against him in the fight. Is that fair to say?
Oh, it's more than fair to say. I hate to buffer Byron's points, but I have to because it's just fact. When Terence Crawford took away Spence's jab, we saw a totally different fighter. When Terence Crawford showed his ability, and I remember when we was talking about it the previous show, and I said he doesn't have to time you. Like, he's just that athletically good to where timing's not a thing with him. It's just reaction. And we saw it. I'm not about to go to the hole, and I appreciate y'all saying that Spence didn't look the same before the fight. I don't care about none of that. When you stepped in the ring, I judged you from that point. The only non-rebuttal, but partial rebuttal that I have for you is shout out to Jamie Foxx. They made a movie called They Cloned Tyrone. That was Errol Spence. That was Errol Spence. He stepped in.
It was a clone. It was a clone.
No. Now to get serious, my fault, y'all. But to get serious, I can understand being negated in aspects of what your skill set is and what you can do. I can understand that. Right. Because I'm not saying that Sean Porter negated anything. I'm not saying Ugas negated anything. But they made Errol work. He actually had to look for angles and kind of move and do all these things. I saw a reluctance in my eyes. And I get the counter punching was a big deal. So we can't discount the fact that every time Errol Spence tried to throw the looping hook to a high guard, might I add, to a high guard that is just hitting off the glove, but he did it for 4 rounds in a row.
He did.
He actually did. Well, why are you still trying to do that? It's Crawford doing bow. You know what I'm saying? It's like the counters were so precise and so on point. And I think the training aspect of this is where I have to go in seriousness. Bo Mack is a better trainer than Derrick James. Wow. It's that simple. Terence Crawford has never been that defensive as a fighter. Look at his last 5 fights.
That's true.
Look at his last 5 fights. He didn't care about putting a high guard, not just a guard, depending on what position you in. High guard.
But this is
boxing fans. We know what we're talking about.
This is what we talked about as well. We talked about his high output.
Yes.
And Crawford being prepared for high output.
Prepared.
That's why I told people that high output could work against him.
I didn't think he was going to be that prepared.
You're going against an assassin. Very precise, and I think in that first round, he felt that he could not move Terence Crawford back. Not physically and not
he was trying to get him off the spot.
And he looked frustrated from that point on.
He did. The first round, I actually think Errol Spence won.
Yeah, a lot of
he had, but the first round, I understand the counterpunch is when he failed in the second round. I get that.
But it was set up in the first.
And before that actual point, you weren't as aggressive as you were in the first.
That's true.
Yeah. Why?
Because he got hit.
But you got hit in the first round as well. Probably not as clean, but you were successful playing to your strengths. Like
it's an old saying in boxing. Every plan is good until you get hit.
Yeah, till you get hit.
He had a plan.
I agree.
And then he saw that Crawford is not gonna be you guys.
I agree.
And sit in front of you and take your jab.
I agree.
And he got slipped and he got hit. And everything changed.
I can't even rebuttal that at all.
You know what surprised me about Crawford? Not surprised. That's the wrong word. But I came away more impressed with his IQ.
Yeah.
His IQ was off the charts in that fight. It was just like everything.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So to buffer your point even more, I'm ready to say right now. First and foremost, if y'all seen the last episode regarding these two fighters, I picked Spence to win by split decision.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Split decision.
Absolutely.
Now that I've seen what I've seen, Terence Crawford needs to be talking about in the upper echelon of fighters. Period.
Wow.
Yeah.
He does. I loved him before. What's the mistake now? Yeah. You beat the best dude out there.
And destroyed him.
Not just beat
him. And you didn't. Right. Thank you. So my fault, my brother. Hey, America, I just had to say it, man.
Yeah. Hey, no, it's all good. It's all good. Adi, let's talk about Adi. I know. What was your thoughts on this fight?
Well, you know what? On our previous show, I mentioned in a pre-fight interview, Spence was downplaying Bud Crawford's power.
Yeah.
He was, and he wasn't bullshitting. Spence actually thought, he actually believed that Terence Crawford's power was overblown.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And before that 9th round TKO, Bud Crawford had already knocked him down 3 times.
Yeah.
Every knockdown was the result of a counterpunch, and it was the result of Errol Spence not being cautious or prudent enough going against a guy that's probably the most powerful welterweight we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Okay. And so and you can get away with not focusing on defense, footwork, head movements, being elusive when you're going against guys like Ugas.
Yeah.
But it's disappointing that the reigning trainer of the year, Derrick James, reigning trainer of the year, didn't have his guy enhancing his overall defense when you're going against a guy as powerful as
Bowman's better. I said it. Bowman is better.
He definitely the Crawford team did a fantastic job in this fight. They were so prepared, like for real.
Now let's take it off the team a little bit. Crawford did exactly what we didn't think he could do.
And I was going just to jump in.
Yes, sir.
I don't think it was so much power. I think what he underestimated the most was speed.
And the timing.
That's a good point.
And he was, and I think Kell Brook, out of everybody, like I lost a lot of respect for Sean Porter during this analysis on Crawford Spence. I think Kell Brook was the most honest mutual opponent that spoke on Crawford. And he
Crawford's
said, he said
he's different.
What caught him the most was how fast he was.
Yeah.
He was like, when you make a mistake, he's gonna hit you. And the first knockdown that happened it was Spence over aggressive to get to the body. And pulling back and getting hit with 2 shots that caught him off balance while he's on his back leg. Yeah. And if you look on his face, he was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa!
He was like, damn.
You hit me very fast.
He was like,
and I think it's those. It was the speed that in those collisions that happened with him trying to force his way on the inside. He was getting hit with shots, and he was like, man, I just didn't see it. And I think that's like it wasn't just the power. I think the power came
the timing
as it accumulated over rounds.
Yeah.
But he was just not winning any exchange. He was not winning any exchange.
He wasn't.
No, he was. That's why I say
round only. The first round only.
His IQ, his IQ really showed up in that fight. So we know Bud. You said it. Byron been trying to tell us we ain't listening hard enough. Now we listening now. You know, Bud is one of the greatest fighters. He's an all-timer. Errol Spence lost his first fight.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes a first time, even, like you look at Adrian Broner, some other guys that was out there, when they lose their first time, Roy Jones, when he lost his first one. Yeah, they don't come back the same. So how is I'm gonna start with you. Where does Spence go from here? How do you think where does Spence go from here? You think he can come back and still be a champion or still be very competitive?
Yeah, I think he can be a champion again. After the referee Harvey Dock took Errol Spence Jr. out of his misery by
Factual.
By stopping his shocking uncompetitive performance.
Yeah.
Shocking uncompetitive performance.
Great way to put
in the ninth round.
Great way to put that.
Bud Crawford yelled at Jermell Charlo, Iron Man Charlo.
Yeah.
You yelled at him. He said, "You're next."
Dang.
I didn't even know he said that.
Okay.
Yeah, he said that.
So Spence his managers at PBC, they need to go ahead and let Bud Crawford go ahead and chase the Iron Man Charlo at 154 pounds at the super welterweight division. And Errol Spence Jr., I don't care what weight he fight at next, 147 or 154, just don't fight Terence Crawford. Whoa! Don't do it. Don't do the rematch right now. I'm not saying don't ever do it, but don't do it this year, okay? Now, you got a guy that's soul taker, T.I.M.E. Okay, he's 154 pounds, all right? His last fight, he had an incredible knockout of Ocampo in just 77 seconds, okay? T.I.M.E. is 23-0, and he's Australian, and he said he has bad blood with Errol Spence, and he wants to knock his head off, okay?
Wow.
So, now, for Errol Spence Jr. and Derrick James, no more 15-month fight droughts. Cut that out, okay? Yeah. No more training in your too comfortable hometown in Dallas, okay? Here's another thing that Terence Crawford did. He left his comfortable home in Omaha, Nebraska, and went to Colorado Springs with altitude.
High altitude.
Running up, you see him running up the mountains and stuff.
Every day.
And fighting up there in the altitude and stuff like that, and training up there. He got away from his family. He's like,
Stamina was ridiculous.
I love my family, but I got to feed my family.
Right.
That's what he said.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then Derrick James, Errol Spence. Hey, no more underrating, no more not putting emphasis on defense.
Right.
Okay, that's the problem with Errol Spence. He has no defensive skills. He's okay with Mikey Garcia and Danny Garcia and Ugas. Yeah, you can take their punches and keep coming forward. But when if you're gonna go up to 154 and fight people like T.I.M.E. and Bud again and Charles, these guys are big. They 6 foot. They big. They throw some shots.
Yeah.
So Errol Spence can be a champion again. The main thing is he was just too comfortable prepared for this fight. He looked too out of it, and he just need to work on his defense.
He need a refresher. He need a refresher, a retraining.
Yes.
T.I.M.E. So I know Adi just said, but he said avoid Bud at all cost. But where does Spence go from here? You think this loss is going to really affect his career where he won't be able to be the same fighter?
I wrote on my paper avoid Bud. So I mean, that's number one. I could sit up here and try to be like that dude and be like, no, it was a setup. No, regardless of what the reasons were that Errol Spence fought that type of fight, it happened.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm trying to play both sides a little bit, but the truth of the matter is, like, dog, you were below lackluster. Like, we're considering Errol Spence as top 5 at the worst pound for pound.
He was the number 4 before this fight, pound for pound, number 4 before this fight.
Okay, thank you. I agree with Adi, 100%. Avoid Bud for now. I think he's fighting stablemate, Charlo. Eventually, I don't mean now. Fight, bang around.
It's like the Charlo brothers fighting. You know?
I know.
They get buddies. They all very close.
Yeah, I know, but make it real uncomfortable. Because I don't think.
Remember, I don't live in imagination land. I live in reality.
I feel you. I know the whole. If you go after Bud again, this might be career ruining. The way your performance was, Errol Spence. The way your performance was, we're giving you one extra fight. Zach, Adi, Byron, they just named fighters. Adrian Broner being the main thing. When he lost to Medina, what happened to his career? Braggadocious, brash, all that. He humping dude in the ring. He humped you and knocked you out. He re-humped, you got re-humped and knocked out. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, we're giving Spence an extra fight. Normally, it takes one bad knockout and you done. Yeah. Not just in the public eye, because that don't matter. I'm talking about your career. How you look at that opponent when you come in the ring. So Errol Spence should stay away from Terence Crawford.
Well, you do know it's in the contract. Spence can force a rematch.
He will.
So, which he probably will. So, Byron, what do you think? Are you with T.I.M.E saying like don't fight Crawford? What's your thoughts on this?
This is like a worst case scenario for Errol Spence. And to be honest, I don't want to see a rematch. I don't think anyone wants to see a rematch. And the reason being is because how do you game plan? Against what you saw. And the thing about being a basic fighter who's good at the basics is that you have spent your entire career having these fundamentals absolutely hammered in you. And you're not going to change trainers. And so it's just how much can you advance your skill set to be competitive? Because
not at 33 years old.
Adi alluded to when we talked about it off camera, Crawford took off 2 rounds and knocked you out 9.
Yeah.
He clearly, I think after the 6th round, saw that it was nothing
he could do
that Spence could do. So I was listening to Adi. Tim Titsu has to be the scariest person on the planet to Errol Spence right now. Yeah. I don't think that fight ever happens because you're coming off a TKO loss. And Tim is going to try to knock you out for 12
You gotta go fight. You gotta go do
and there is no he's a very aggressive and he's sitting at the division that you're moving up to, and he is a perennial 154. He's a big guy and he's been running after Charlo.
Right.
And so really, for me, I think the best fight for Spence is back at 147 and it's Boots Enos. And I think you fight Boots at 147. And the reason why you fight Boots at 147 is because I don't think that you have the skill right now to move up to 154 and fight bigger fighters with more power.
Right.
And that's the problem. The thing is, now, because you haven't absolutely tested yourself at 147, can you sustain that power? You know, and you thought that Terence Crawford didn't have power. I can guarantee you that even outside of Jamal Charlo, who you probably will never face, the rest of that top 5, they've all got thumped. They've all got hit.
But Timzu got more power than Charlo.
Yeah, and I think so too.
Well, I'm not sure, but that's debatable. But I will challenge you on this. No, you're not fighting Boots Ennis. Are you kidding me?
What else can you do?
No, he can fight Keith Thurman.
Lose to Boots Ennis.
Keith Thurman.
You could lose to Boots Ennis.
But that's what I think happens. I think Boots, and I was gonna bring that up later. I really think Keith Thurman and Boots fight.
Okay.
I think that fight is set up.
Keith Thurman don't want that.
Because Keith Thurman is chasing Crawford. He's not gonna catch him.
Why would he?
Crawford's most, and you have to also bring into the fact of the age of the fighters.
Right.
Crawford don't have a lot of dances left.
Thank you. Yeah,
and so right now,
so you have to understand.
Spence has 33. Spence is 33. Crawford's 35.
So you brought that up. What's next for Crawford?
Charlo. He waits for him to get destroyed by Canelo, and let him come back. He's not. Charlo's not. He's jumping two-weight divisions. Like let's be. And I'm not the biggest Canelo fan. But I don't think he jumps 2 weight divisions and
we're gonna talk about it.
I don't think that happens.
I'm so
I don't
glad
think
you
that
told me
happens.
that.
But I do believe that Charlo, after that fight, will be at a very vulnerable position, and he will
win or lose though. No,
but,
win or lose.
and it's also the money aspect, because I think right now Crawford, after, you have to understand his origin story, which is pretty effed up. He worked for a managing company that did not promote him. He worked for a managing company that told him that he couldn't be where he is.
Bob Orr.
And
Bob Orr.
he is Crawford should have more money than all of these guys. And I think he will. And I think Crawford has done for his entire career, he's fought the guy that he has to fight. He's fought the boogeyman.
The best person that they
now
can
it's
have.
about the money. And right now he is tied into he's tied into Errol Spence.
That's what he
who
should
I think Errol Spence, because this is a worst case scenario. Earl Spence has to take this rematch. He has to take this rematch because he's looking at less money either way he goes. If he goes up to 154 and you don't fight Charlo, you're looking at less money. If you go back to 147 and you fight the boogeyman who is Boots Ennis at 147, you're still looking at less money.
Keith Thurman.
And I mean, it's still
that's funny too.
but you have to understand it's some energy, it's some bad energy between him and Keith Thurman. And Errol Spence has came out and said that he will never fight Keith Thurman.
I swear to God.
Which is why in my little opening skit I said that decision cost you in your biggest fight of your career. Because you need to fight a Keith Thurman to beat a Crawford. Because he needs that awkward, herky-jerky movement guy to learn how to adapt your jab so that if you can't land your jab, you're setting up shots and you can be successful against a gatekeeper of the division.
Yeah. So, okay, real quick. Just real quick.
I'll be quick.
Real quick. Go ahead.
All right, Bud Crawford, I feel like he's about to retire. I feel like he's about to be 36 years old next year. He doesn't want Boston to retire him. I think he's go after Charlo.
37?
And then he's going to retire. I don't want him to be like Roy Jones at the end of his career looking bad. So that's all I'm going to say.
What about Bud Crawford? Anything for Bud Crawford? Next, you agree?
Just dominate. Keep dominating like I think Bud Crawford is at the point to where he's gonna fight the biggest fights he can possibly can in the shortest amount of time, because I agree with Adi. Me and Zach were talking about this before the show. He's 35.
He'll be 36 in September.
36 in September. We talking about, I'm looking at, if he go to 38, I'd be surprised.
Charlo Spence. I think Spence enacts his rematch that happens this year.
You said Charlo Spence?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, because I was about to say, I just said that, you killed me.
I'm sorry, Spence Crawford.
Yes!
Possible December.
I agree.
Which will be a horrible decision.
You think
you have Canelo and Charlo this year. So after that fight, Charlo fights Crawford early next year and calls it a career.
One word answer real quick. So if Spence and Crawford do the rematch at 154, does it make a difference?
No, it makes no difference.
Okay, all right. A little bit. Alright, y'all been watching Spectator Sporting. I'm Zach Rose, I'm my partner, Mr. Adi Wiley. Shout out to T.I.M.E, shout out to Byron. Man, Byron, the man of the hour. In the meantime, in between time, it's Byron's show today. It's his show.
Nice round TKO. Wow. Who did that? Who else said that?
That show was pretty cool.